Thank you all for being here. How many of you would this be your first time to see the Senate Judiciary Committee? Would you raise your hand? A few of our witnesses and others, first time. This is an interesting committee. It represents the spectrum of politics in the United States Senate. We have the most Republicans and the most Democrats sitting on this committee. So you won't be surprised that many times we disagree. And that disagreement sometimes leads to good speeches, but very few laws. But there was an exception. 2 years ago, we took up this issue and started talking about what we could do to stop the spread of fentanyl and the deadly impact it's having on America. And we actually voted in this committee on a bipartisan basis unanimously for 5 measures that dealt with social media. Your point, Mrs. Noring, if Snapchat were a store on the corner selling fentanyl-laden Percocets, and it happened one time, and they could be sued, that would be the end of the story. But we learned through Section 230 that social media gets off the hook. Mrs. Noring, you're joining families, I understand, that are trying to hold them responsible for your son's death and other deaths as well. I couldn't support you more. Now let me tell you what happened. We passed bills in this committee holding big tech and social media responsible unanimously. Now there were 4 or 5 new members of the committee, but every member of the committee 2 years ago voted for it. Democrat and Republican, conservative and liberal, all voted for the measure. And what happened as a result of that combined bipartisan effort? Nothing. Nothing. Speeches. That's what happened. We failed as Democrats in the majority in the Senate. The Republicans failed as the majority in the House to pass any measure. There I said it. Democrats bear responsibility and Republicans as well. We've got to be honest about this. Why? Why would something as popular and as obvious as that fail before the Congress? Well, because there were powerful forces that have a lot of money at stake and don't want liability, who will piously and publicly say they love this measure. It makes all the sense in the world. And then when the doors close and they get a chance to speak to members individually, they flip and they take the opposite position and nothing happens. Chuck Grassley's my friend. I've gotten in trouble for that, but I'm proud of it. We go back a long ways. I went to him yesterday and said, this time you're the chairman. I'm the ranking Democrat. I'm here to help you pass legislation to do something. I'm sick and tired of excuses being made and people dying as a result of it. And I think it's time for us, on a bipartisan basis, to find things we agree with. Now, I don't know where the sources are. I think Dr. Farfan makes a valid argument. Sheriff Barnes, I respect very much your responsibility in law enforcement and have a different point of view. We may never resolve that basic question, but I think we can all resolve, we don't care where the hell it's coming from, we want it to stop. We want to stop it in China, we want to stop it in Mexico, we want to stop it in our backyards, and however it's getting into the United States. So to those who are familiar with this committee, this is where it has to start. We won't agree on every aspect, everything as a result of it, but we can agree on some basics that make a difference. Mrs. Noring, you've testified before about your son and the loss of his life. Senator Klobuchar told me that. And I'd like to ask you what the families are doing that you've gathered with to hold Snapchat and others liable.
So the families and I, Mr. Puerta, Amy Neville sitting behind me, we filed suit against Snapchat. We are in the process of making it through the courts as we speak. There's, oh my God, how many? They have hundreds of cases behind ours. For a while, it was looking pretty grim. I mean, Snapchat has been immune for so long, and it's now making its way through. We just got word that we're going into discovery.
Mr. Puerta?
Yes, sir. It passed out Judge Lawrence Riff on January 4th of 2023, I believe,
Yeah.
accepted the lawsuit, and 2024, not on the basis of free speech, but on the basis of product design. That went on to the appellate court in California, and the appellate court ruled in our favor for the lawsuit to go forward. So right now, we are in discovery. No other lawsuit against any major social media company has gotten as far as ours, sir.
I wish you well. I'll close by saying we're dealing with fentanyl and the deadly aspects of that drug, and we're also dealing with sexual exploitation, particularly of children. And a number of members here have shown real leadership. Senator Blackburn on the Republican side, and Senator Blumenthal on the Democratic side especially. We all have bills. We can do this. Hold this responsible. Don't just come and leave and think nothing's going to happen. It's our job to make sure it does happen and do the right thing for you and your families. Thank you very much.